I can't see nothing. Gotta open my eye. Cut me, Mick.
You don't want to do it.
Go on, cut me. Cut me.
Try it. Cut it.
Hello again. This is Mac Bolin, IllinoisMatmen.com. Today I'm going to be talking about the toughest weight classes in the state of Illinois, Class A, 2A, 3A, and in my opinion the best pound-for-pound wrestlers per class. Now, before I get started, I'd like to give a shout out to Darius Jones, former wrestler from Moline, 285-pound state champ, battling cancer. Our prayers go out to you, brother. Now, in breaking this down, understand that when you start talking about toughest weight classes, best wrestlers pound for pound, obviously it's very subjective, based on opinion. And of course, we all know what opinions are like. Everybody's got one, and they all stink. So basically I use 3 bits of criteria: talent, depth, and competitiveness within the division. Now, I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to try and pile up a whole lot of data and bits and pieces because I didn't want to make somebody's... Okay, we're going to start with Class A here. Looking at pound for pound, basically I boiled it down to 2 teammates from Dakota. At 145 pounds, J.J. Wolf, and at 170 pounds, Carver James. Now, both returning state champions. James spent most of the season injured, just came back recently. It did win regionals, did win sectionals, and pretty much a dominant guy in that weight class. However, I'm going to go with J.J. Wolf, Dvorak champ, wrestled the whole season. So, for Class A, your pound for pound, J.J. Wolf. Now, speaking of Carver James, toughest weight class, 170 pounds. If you take a look now, James, I expect to dominate this weight class and not really be tested all the way through state, with the exception of Kyle Batorn. If you look down here, Ellsbury, Sims, Terry, Kane, Schuler, Pronka, Rockwell, Ward, pretty solid weight classes. Unfortunately, most of the depth in this weight class was contained in 2 sectionals, Oregon and Clinton. Therefore, a couple of ranked wrestlers and some other really good wrestlers, Bauer, Cashmore, Miller, and Murray, were all eliminated in the sectionals. Class 2A next. Okay, Class 2A. Looking at pound for pound in Class 2A, a little bit more difficult. In Class 2A, there are probably several wrestlers that are the best in the state, better than their 3A competition. For instance, you have Dylan Duncan, who already has a win over the #1 ranked Class 3A O'Connor. You have Vince Turk, Ironman placer, Cheesehead placer at 145 pounds. Then up at 195 pounds, you have undefeated and returning state champion Andrew Marsden, and that's, yes, younger brother of Austin Marsden, highly ranked heavyweight at Oklahoma State University. Does not wrestle like a 195 pounder, and probably the best 195 pounder in the state, in my opinion. But looking at all of that, you got to go with Jabari Moody at 113 pounds. Moody, 2-time world team member, returning state champ, ranked #1 in the country at 113 pounds, and that's over 3 or 4 guys, 3 guys from Illinois below him, 2 guys from Illinois below him, and Mejia from California were also pretty tough. So, toughest weight class. There were a few, but I think 132 pounds based on the talent, mostly based on the depth, is what I'm going to call the toughest Class 2A weight class. 132 pounds, Duncan from Montini at the top, Sutton from Richmond Burton, Keefe, Lincoln Way West, Suburban West Conference champion, Huere, undefeated, first place in every tournament regionally he's been in, Taylor, Roberson, Critchfield, Punkay from Washington, Rashal, Barber, a couple other good wrestlers, Torres, and then down around 11 or 12 you have Ortiz, who was a Chicago Catholic League champ. So again, in my opinion, I feel that 132 pounds is the toughest weight class in Class 2A. Now we'll move on to Class 3A. Okay, Class 3A pound for pound. Actually quite a few to choose from. Of course you have Larry Early, returning state champion at 145 pounds. Early missed most of the season due to an injury, but currently is undefeated, regional and sectional champ. And then of course Rudy Yates. Rudy Yates at 126 pounds, ranked number 3 in the nation, even though we began the season not even ranked in the top 20. Win at the regionals over Chris Williams, 3-time state champ Chris Williams. Knocked off earlier in the season, number 1 Mitchell McKee from St. Michael Albertsville. Be pretty tough to put someone over Yates. However, Isaiah White, 152 pounds, won state last year, 138. Had a phenomenal tournament at Fargo, junior freestyle, dominated extremely deep field. Ironman champ, undefeated, ranked number 1 in the country, so I'm going to have to go with Isaiah White at 152 pounds as my pound for pound wrestler in 3A and in the state. So, toughest weight class in 3A. With Bay out at 170 pounds, it weakens that weight class a little bit, not too bad, 182 pounds. Very deep weight class. But on the weight class, in 145 pounds, also very deep, but on the weight class, I'm going to go with, I'm looking more, in this case, not just at depth, but at the competitiveness within the division. So I'm going to go with 120 pounds as the toughest weight class in Class 3A. At the top, you have Alex Madrigal. Since his junior year, probably one of the most improved wrestlers in the country. And even though he's ranked number 1, there's not that much separation with him and a lot of the guys on the list here. If you go down, you look at Cullen, Siltzer, Lukanich, McFall, Madonia, Augustine, Pressing, Twente, and Valerial. But then, go down below that, Core, Stearns from Carl Sandburg, Southwest Suburban Conference champ, eliminated in the sectionals, and probably the Downers Grove North Sectional at 120 pounds, the most brutal in the whole state regardless of class. 2 other really good wrestlers, Antonelli and Thomas, also eliminated at that Downers Grove North Sectional. So, having said that, I'm going to say in Class 3A, 120 pounds, toughest weight class. But now, let's say for a minute that we're like California.
Actually, I'd like to join you, but I have class tonight.
How about tomorrow night?
I have class then, too.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
So let's say we had an individual tournament like California with no separation in classes. One big, wide open individual tournament. So then, what would be the toughest weight class? Again, 120 pounds would have been toughest in 3A, but I don't think Class A and Class 2A add that much to it. Right off the bat, though, 170 and 182 pounds, pretty loaded, especially when you throw in some of the guys from Class 1A and Class 2A. 152 pounds, same thing, 160 pounds. But, and here I'm going to go a little bit more on the talent side, with great depth, but when you add in 2 wrestlers from Class 1A and Class 2A, it makes 145 pounds brutal. You've got Early, ranked number 1, but then you've got Turk and Wolf, 2 of the best pound-for-pound wrestlers in the state. Fernie Silva, returning state finalist. Barone, DeLoach, Callahan, Gasborough, a lot of all-staters in here. Gruska, Schoen, Foster, and then Molagusis, a guy who wrestled most of the season at 152 pounds for Lyons Township, dropped down to 145, now making this an extremely tough weight class. So again, I'd say if there was no classes, 145 pounds, in my opinion, would be the toughest weight class in the state. And that's going to wrap it up. So that does it. Again, this is Mac Boland from IllinoisMatmen.com, and just a reminder, starting on Thursday, you can catch all the action down in Champaign, live stream on IllinoisMatmen.com. You can go for the link. Also, on March 1st, starting noon, and then 3 p.m., and then 7 p.m., you can catch the state finals on Comcast Chicago Sportsnet March 1st. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Fellowship of Christian Athlete Wrestling. You can catch them at fcawrestling.org. Go like them on Facebook. And of course, GEI Wrestling Apparel. Brauchen Sie? Arbeiten!